big welcome to the first episode of the Championing Creativity podcast. In this episode, I speak with Fran Gresswell, founder of Riviera Iced Tea. Fran discusses how she's been able to scale her business to over 250 locations, how she managed to land a contract with Co-op, and how trusting the wrong person almost destroyed her business. Now, Fran is an absolute boss in this podcast. She's 25 years old, and she came on this podcast with only 2 days' notice. Expect big things from Fran and Riviera Iced Tea. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on Spotify, then I'd massively appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing and it means a lot to me as a new channel. Anyway, here's the episode. I believe you finished university, and when most people are looking for their grad jobs, you went out and set up a business. What made you come to that decision?
So it was during COVID. I actually started doing a bit of like freelance social media marketing. So for my uni, I was a COVID uni student, so I got sent home in second year and told not to come back for any third year or anything. So I got everything done that I needed to do, and then I basically knew I was going to be sat at home for a year. I was on furlough from a hospitality job that I had at uni. And so I basically just started doing a bit of freelance social media marketing for like local like cafes. And I absolutely loved it. I wasn't that great at it, to be honest. And then a couple of things happened where like the cafes had to close because, post-COVID, all of that. I basically just loved working in that industry and in kind of food and drink, and got a really good insight. But I wanted to have a bit more control and be able to actually do with a brand what I wanted to do. So I started kind of having a look, and I think a lot for me was I was 20 years old at this point. It was not a lot of it was naivety. I didn't know how much kind of money it cost to start a drinks brand. I didn't know kind of the fact it's one of the toughest industries to be in. Like, I didn't know all of this, and I guess that's kind of like a bit of a blessing and a curse. But I just decided to kind of look for a gap in the market, and I noticed there was one for like a more premium iced tea and just generally just a better iced tea in the UK. So I just got planning, and it was just kind of silly things like me planning out a name and looking a bit into the industry. And then I decided to pay to go on a course for kind of all food and drink founders that I think cost me £50 because it was on Zoom because of COVID. And I just knew straight away, yeah, I want to be in this industry. It's just, I love everything about it. I love how diverse it is. I love the creativity and the development, and it just kind of went from there, to be honest. And I still was in third year at this point, so I hadn't even started looking for grad jobs because obviously COVID had delayed all of that as well. So yeah, that's kind of when I realised.
You mentioned you did some social media freelance work for bars and restaurants. How much of that has helped you scale Riviera Iced Tea?
I think it's helped in terms of I've got a pretty good basic understanding of TikTok, of ads, of kind of all of that. But I think I definitely kind of knew my limitations, and I think a lot of it came from me kind of being Gen Z anyway. Like, I kind of know the value of social media because of that, rather than me having had my very basic work in it. So that's kind of all the first thing. And the first thing I do when I've got a bit of investment behind me will be to scale that and be to hire someone who actually knows what they're doing. Because it's just so valuable. Even me using we've started with ads recently, like our kind of online sales have gone up like 300% this year. Like, it's definitely been valuable. It's very hard in food and drink with ads, but it's just brand awareness with social media is just, there's nothing better. If anybody is a business owner that doesn't use social media, you're not going to get very far.
I think a lot of people have brilliant ideas, and I think the process often puts people off actually executing these ideas. How difficult was it from having the initial idea to start Riviera Iced Tea, to getting samples, then getting packaging sorted, and then being in a position to even start selling to consumers?
The actual getting the product is not too difficult, but it's the cash. If you've got kind of financial backing behind you, then you're fine. But it's actually getting the money. So like, I used a mixture of a bit of grants, a lot of savings, because obviously I'd worked all through uni to save to go traveling and couldn't because of COVID. So basically all of my savings went in, and I'm lucky that because I'm from quite a rural area, there are a lot of kind of grants out there that people win. It's a lot more competitive if you're from a city. But that's the toughest part. But actually finding a manufacturer, I mean, I had no experience. I literally was Googling the answers. I just found experts to kind of help me through the process. So I think that actual part is not too hard, but once you've got the product, that is when it gets hard. Convincing people to buy it, convincing buyers to stock it, finding money to keep yourself going. I mean, it's really, really tough. Like, I wouldn't ever want to like disillusion anyone.
And have you done your business fully bootstrapped, or did you raise any investment?
Fully bootstrapped. Family and friends have put a little bit in, but I am now going to start be raising investment. We're at the point now where I've just got a first retail listing, and we kind of want there's more coming. But you have to, again, everything's on you. You have to pay for everything in advance, and you don't get paid for kind of 30 to 60 days. So you need to raise investment to get in retail. So that is kind of what I'm having to do at the moment. I really wanted to avoid it, but unless you're kind of building for a company which isn't really successful for you, but might be for your grandkids, then it's really, really hard to go that slow to be bootstrapped.
Do you have a team in Riviera Iced Tea, or is it just you?
So I've got freelancers. So we've got someone who does sales, someone who does like Facebook ads. And then I kind of there's a lot of kind of friends, like young people in my local area who I'll like employ for kind of marketing and things like that. You know, we do a lot of like food and drink festivals as well. So sometimes I have people doing those. But also I just utilize like family as much as I can. I'm quite lucky that my parents are slightly older, they're retired. So they have a lot of time to give me, which I know is such like I'm so grateful for that. And it's really lucky. So my mum and dad, yeah, I mean, I've got like a big I've got a trade show this weekend, and my mum's coming to all 3 days, like to be that extra person. So yeah, that is like really grateful, because I would have had to have hired full time by now, if I didn't have that kind of support, because yeah, it's just the workload's just way too much.
One year you were able to grow from your shed to a container and then to a warehouse. Was Riviera Iced Tea an instant success, or did it take a while to get to that stage?
So it actually took a while. It's quite, I think it's difficult because I work full time. So obviously with being bootstrapped. So I launched technically in 2022, but that first year I literally sold, I think, God, I don't even know, like maybe 1,000 cans. Like it was nothing. I mean, we do that in a couple of days now. Like it was just, yeah, it was barely anything. And it was in like local cafes, you know, if I'd have walked in and just happened to mention it. And we did like the odd market, like local market. No one knew who we were. And then year two was very similar, but it got a bit more traction just because it is the only premium kind of iced tea on the market. So that kind of grew a little bit more organically. But it was year three when I quit my job, and that's kind of when it went kind of crazy. And then we're in year three now, so still year three. So yeah, it's difficult because I think people kind of go, oh, you've kind of really grown like you've grown really quickly. But actually there was that 2 years that I was like, I'm having to work full time. And I worked more than full time to fund it. Like I was working 70-hour weeks at my other job. Like it wasn't just a 40 hours. So I literally did not have any time at all. So yeah, it's difficult. Like it's not, unless you're kind of going straight in with being able to pay yourself a salary, and it's so tough.
Did your other job, was the skills based in your other job, did it help you with Riviera Iced Tea?
So I worked in hospitality. I was an operations manager at a wedding venue, and then I would pick up kind of like duty manager shifts in the evenings as well to help. That's kind of where the 70 hours came from. So I would say, I mean, in terms of kind of managing a team, yes, like I am pretty set up for that. I had kind of a team of 10 underneath me. So that's great. The kind of like people skills, communication. We had a lot of suppliers reaching out to us. So I kind of saw that side. I saw how margins work. So I think it gave me a really good kind of basic understanding. But pretty much everything in the business I've learned from speaking to other founders, and just surrounding myself with people like that, and just not being afraid to go up to people and say like, you know, I'm quite like a young founder, I've only been going a year, like it'd be really great to kind of talk to you. And that has been the most valuable thing, and probably saved me so much money from being able to see what other people's mistakes were. And people are lovely, like people are really nice. So you've just got to be confident enough to utilize them.
And where do you meet these other founders? Do you go to local networking events?
So a bit of both, kind of like LinkedIn, just sending them a message on LinkedIn, or networking events are really great. If you're a female founder, there's one called Buy Women Built, which is incredible. It's got something like, I think, 10,000 people on, and it's all really it's got founders who are like exporting and turning over kind of 50 million, and down to people who are like pre-seed, haven't even launched. So it's really great, and they do networking events, and you get kind of split off into groups, and I've met everybody. Like it's incredible. And then I know that there's lots of other kind of networking events as well. I'm a little bit out of it being in Nottingham, but yeah, that's just great. But I just think people, especially if you're a young founder, people are very like they're willing to help. Especially if you contact someone who's kind of been there, done that, maybe exited, they can remember what it's like. People aren't kind of out of touch. They know how they felt. And yet they will be, especially if you're confident enough to ask. I think people appreciate that.
People often underestimate how hard it is to own a drinks company. You don't just land a big contract with a supermarket and the product just sells itself. You kind of are marketing to two audiences, where you're speaking to businesses like bars, restaurants, cafes and supermarkets. Then you're also speaking to the consumer. So when they see the product, they're going to buy it. Where do you place your biggest focus at the moment, or how do you balance the two of them?
To be honest, I think if you market to the consumer, you're marketing to the buyer as well, because a lot of the time, I mean, I do TikTok always aimed at customers, and then it gets seen by people who own cafes. So at the end of the day, the people who own cafes, the buyers of Tesco's, they're also customers elsewhere. And it's such a snowball effect of, if you get in one, you get in the others, because somebody might shop there and try it, and everyone kind of copies each other, even if they don't mean to. So that's kind of, always appeal to the customer, because the buyers will also be your customers. And that's what you want anyway, because you want them to believe in it. You want them to be kind of that, you want them to be like that. So it's definitely, if you have to put all your eggs in one basket, 100% go towards the customer. And at the end of the day, it's pointless getting in anywhere if you're not going to market to the customers, because it won't sell.
Sure. Yep, that would make sense. So you're stocked in over 250 locations now in the UK, including 95 Co-op stores. How did you manage to land a contract with Co-op?
So another kind of lucky thing, well, the great thing about the Co-ops is they're all kind of non-profit, and there's independent franchises. So they're all kind of run separately, but they do all work collaboratively. So I reached out to my local one, which is Lincolnshire Co-ops. They've got 100 stores, and I basically sent them, and again, utilize where you're from, utilize local. Everybody loves local, and kind of play on the strengths you have. So for me, Lincolnshire is full of farmers. It's full of, so we basically have all the local products are things like, there's, sausages and potatoes. Like there's nothing that's like really like a drink or anything. So I kind of went in with that. I really pitched my story. And again, they loved the fact that I was like a young founder, that I understand the value of socials. I understand kind of my Shopify. And I mean, the first thing, I went into a marketing and propositions meeting with them, and they said to me, you are the first supplier we've spoken to that hasn't sold us the product, they've sold us the story. And they absolutely loved it, because the head of marketing said, like, we can market this product because of you understand. And they just loved that. I spoke for 10 minutes and didn't really mention the product. I mentioned why I like iced tea instead of mentioning like Riviera Iced Tea. And yeah, they just really got on board. And so we went into 21 stores as a trial, and they said, we'll review in 3 months. So for those 3 months, well, it ended up literally being 3 weeks, but for those 3 weeks, I just went all in on the marketing. We did launch videos. I went and stood outside one of the stores in the centre of Lincoln with a massive cool box, opened it up and just started handing out free samples to people and saying, if you like it, you can get it in there for tomorrow for your meal deal. I did a lot of sampling at local events. I booked like food and drink shows next in Lincolnshire, and the sales doubled. So they were really impressed. And after only a couple of weeks, they said, we want to put you into all 100 stores. So yeah, it's been going really well. And they're so supportive. And the biggest thing is say yes to everything. So, once you're in, because that's the hard thing. Once you're in, you then have to keep the listing. And I've just been saying yes to, supporting them. They wanted to put some in their goodie bags for the staff for end of season awards. I said yes, I gave it to them. They wanted me to go to their annual meeting and do sampling. I was there. You have to get your name out as much as you can. And and again, that's marketing. It's in-person marketing. So yeah, it's super important to kind of show how willing you are to make this work and do your part as well.
Yeah, because I think seen they even used you in their co-op social media posts they used, and I saw you reshared it.
Yeah, and again, that's because I've networked so kind of much with them. So we had a Sound at Lincolnshire show, and I went and I was speaking to all of the staff, the community leaders and the people who work for Lincolnshire Co-op, but they hosted the walks. Like, just get to know everybody, because then even if your buyer leaves, you're still friends with everybody else as well. Like, and they are the loveliest people. Like, I'm very lucky with that. But yeah, if people understand what you're doing, they understand your journey, they want to help again, they want to be like part of it. And yeah, it's just being, I guess, personable. And yeah.
But how much control do you have in where they place your product on the shelves? Are you part of the meal deal or not? Is that something you have control with, or do you just have to let them just manage that?
So you can ask for, usually they want you to do a certain amount of promotions a year. So you can kind of control as and when you work with your buyer to decide on that. But luckily for me, Lincolnshire Co-op, because I'm a local product, they have put me in the meal deal and they've funded that, which is like, that does not normally happen. Normally you would have to fund that. But yeah, so I've been really lucky that they've done that for me. But with other supermarkets that we're in talks with, if you run a promotion, and a lot of people don't know this, if you see something that's £2 a can or 2 for £3, it's the supplier that pays for that. So the supermarket maintains their margin. So whenever you see a discount, whenever you see anything, it is the brand that's paying for that. So the brand gets less money, essentially. The supermarket maintains what they would get anyway. So that's, again, why you need to raise investment to get in supermarkets, because it's very expensive. And that's why I've waited 3 years. I've only just started reaching out to the other supermarkets because of that. Because you can do all the promotions you want in the world, but you need a good product and you need people to keep kind of buying. And it's just a lot of cash. If you spend all that marketing spend and it doesn't work, I don't know how you really recover.
And you say payment terms are a bit delayed with supermarkets compared to bars and restaurants?
60 days most of the time. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of going on like a Dragon's Den or an investor show like that, or is it more just doing it privately with people you know?
Yeah, I did. I got quite far through the process with Dragon's Den. Annoyingly, I was going through a bit of a court thing, having to take a manufacturer to court because I didn't get my products delivered, which was lovely. So Dragon's Den don't like to touch that, even though it's me taking them to court. So that kind of all halted the process, and we weren't successful that time. I would definitely look into it for the future. I've got quite a lot of friends going on it, a few friends who have been on it. And they've had good experiences. So yeah, I would definitely look into it. And I wouldn't say no to anything kind of TV. I think TV's a lot less brutal than TikTok anyway.
Yeah. And the PR off the back of it is just unrivaled. You actually teed this up quite nicely. You mentioned there was a manufacturing issue, and I think I read that it cost you personally around £10,000 to sort out. Are you allowed to speak about that?
Yeah, so in 2023, I'd basically got a big contract on board with a big cafe chain, and they took all my stock. So I lost all my stock. It was June, and that was my obviously biggest selling time is June, July, August, and I had no stock. So I basically tried to find a manufacturer. Again, probably naivety. I was so desperate for stock that I kind of overlooked a lot of kind of red flags with them. But they'd been recommended by somebody that I actually work with and trust. So, I mean, they had a good experience. It wasn't just one of those, but I thought, oh, it'll be fine. You know, I just kept ignoring all the red flags. And it took, I think it was a 3-month delay. My products finally arrived in September, which obviously I'd missed most of the summer anyway. They finally arrived, and all of the cans had gone off. When they arrived like 2 days, and 2 days later they went off. So they tasted fermented. They tasted like kombucha essentially, like it was gone off tea. And my stock has a 2-year shelf life, like it shouldn't have gone off. So they were unusable. I'd already shipped a load around the country, so I had to pay to get all those back. Obviously, a few people might have drank them and now think Riviera Iced Tea tastes like crap, but it doesn't, I promise. So yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare, and it taught me a lot. And it was, to be honest, probably the worst day that I've experienced so far, like in my life. Like it was, I've never felt worse. And yeah, it was horrific. And I went through the small claims court process, which again learnt a lot, didn't have a good experience. And yeah, the case got dismissed for a ridiculous reason. Essentially, the manufacturer had produced an Excel document that said we are not to blame and signed it himself. So yeah, great scientific evidence, very unbiased, but the judge said that's fine. Annoyingly, that manufacturer has been taken to court 5 other times, and the claimant has always won. So I am the only one that has lost against him. So that was a kicker. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, because any other judge on any other day, I definitely would have won. So that was really upsetting, and it taught me a lot. And it's really upsetting when, it's £10,000. It's not crazy at the end of the day, but when you look at kind of your profit and loss for that year, and it's like, if I had that 10 grand, I would have not been in a loss. Frustrating. And I'm now going to have to explain that to, why did you not grow that much in year 2? I'm going to have to explain to any investors, 1, we had no stock, and 2, I lost £10,000. Like it's so frustrating. But hopefully I've learned a lot. So
Yeah. And did you have to pay for court fees as well?
yeah, so that cost me 1,500. It was just small claims court, but yeah. Again, like, I know now what to do. I know exactly what to do, and to avoid that happening again. I talk a lot on my TikTok about it, because there was so many red flags that now I look back and I'm like, what an idiot. I'm such an idiot. But at the time, you just don't, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You don't think, especially at my age, I've never worked with anybody. I've never come across anybody that is that much of a cowboy and that much of a horrific human being. Like he's awful, like bullying tactics, everything after it went wrong. Like horrible person. And I think they've been shut down now, but I didn't realize people were like that. And I was so naive. And that's why I now try and talk a lot about it, because we need to realize that there are people out there and we have to defend ourselves and kind of avoid it.
Yeah, and you're probably lucky your business was at the stage it was, because that could have £10,000. It's not a lot of money, but it could, if you're a startup and you're right at the beginning of your journey, that could be enough to just pick you off and put the business to bed.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's all relative, isn't it? £10,000 was like all of our profit from year 1. So it seemed big, but I suppose it would, if it happened now, it would again only be a portion of my profit, but it would be like an extra like 2 zeros to that. Like it's difficult, but yeah, it's one of those.
And were you ever, not just including the kind of the manufacturing issue, but was ever a point in your journey where you thought, what's the point? This is not working, or were you always very confident that it would work?
January this year, I was very close. And to be honest, a lot of, again, is the fact like I'm bootstrapped. So I had to turn down a listing because I didn't have enough money, marketing wise, to do it. And I also I had to find a load of money, which again, this £10,000 would have sorted us. That was, but I had to find money for the next production run after that 10,000 went wrong. So that was really tough. I had all of that. I had some stock which I wasn't able to shift because it arrived at the worst time. Like there was just everything piled up on me. I then lost the court case. Obviously the court system, it took a year for that to all happen. So I found out I lost it in January of this year. And I then got a couple of no's from like really big customers I really wanted. And it all just got too much. And I spoke to my sister-in-law who lives in Abu Dhabi, and she was like, come and live with us and train to be a teacher. And I was very much considering it. And then literally a week later, I got the co-op listing, the Lincolnshire co-op listing. And I was like, oh, like things, it's funny. And then that year as well, that week that I got the Lincolnshire co-op listing, my Facebook ads like kicked in, and I had like the best sales week I've ever had. And it was just insane. Like I went from like literally you could not get lower to having my biggest high in business within a week. It's a roller coaster.
Brilliant. Now, onto the marketing side of your business. Obviously, soft drinks is highly competitive, but what do you do to help stand out against the real big players in your industry?
kind of joke on that. So I do a lot of like getting literally a cardboard thing off the bottom of my palette, writing on it for iced tea and standing in a train station in London. Like I can get it printed, do you know what I mean? I could get a nice sign, but I play on the fact that we've got no money, and like I'm competing against one of the oldest drinks companies in the UK. And yeah, just I do a lot of TikToks about that as well, like when the Lipton founder was born, when I was born, and all of this. Like it's yeah, you just kind of I play on that a lot, and I'm sure my marketing will evolve as I get more money behind me, as I get bigger listings, because I can't really do that in kind of Sainsbury's. But yeah, it's just kind of you can do stuff small for sure. And annoyingly, I'm not that creative, so I do bounce ideas off like people I network with. And they have kind of given me some really good ones, and I've got some really good ones coming up with Lincolnshire Co-op, but they're more they're kind of happening September onwards to kind of boost our winter sales, because obviously winter and iced tea, it does drop. But we've got some really cool stuff, just like, you know, kind of competitions, like finding codes, and just like a lot of UGC stuff. UGC I love, and our cans I think really promote that. Like we get a lot of kind of people take photos of it, and so yeah, that's been amazing. Like UGC and word of mouth as well. Yeah.
You mentioned obviously Lipton iced tea, who dominate the industry. How important is it to have that kind of enemy of the brand almost that people play on? I know even people with personal brands like James Smith's played on with Joe Wicks, and it's having someone that you're up against constantly and you're looking to try and compete with. And also people like supporting the underdog.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it actually really helps to have a big competitor like that. And I know I'm always like, how am I going to compete? Like like you can't compete in terms of how big they are, but you don't know where you're going to be if the company's still around in 100 years. You know, like it's important, because if I came in and Lipton wasn't a thing, no, people might not have heard of iced tea. Like it's Lipton's, it's great. Like it's having a big competitor like that's fab, and also you can pick holes at them, you can joke about them, and you're probably fine because you're not even a blip on their radar. I don't love it when people rinse other small businesses. Like I don't do that. But I think Lipton, like I don't care if I take the mick out of them. If I tell them how crap Lipton is, like it's not going to affect Lipton sales. So yeah, I do a lot of that, and I've got loads of hate for it though. Like Lipton's customers are pretty young. So like I don't know whether you saw the whole discontinue of the peach saga. Didn't know you saw about that, but obviously that was a marketing stunt. Anyone kind of our age knew that was a marketing stunt straight away. But obviously Lipton's customers are probably the average age of like 12 to 16, I would say, is their main customer. So they all fell for it, obviously. And whatever Lipton say, you know, people were in my comments all the time saying Lipton didn't mean to. They thought it was April Fool's in March. Like it was a stunt. Come on, everyone. And yeah, I got so much hate because I said we'd never trick our customers, and everyone's like, they aren't tricking us. And I actually got a death threat as well, which was really funny. And somebody said it was my fault that Lipton are discontinuing the peach because I've got a peach iced tea. And I just thought that was hilarious because I was like, Lipton have probably never heard of me. Like, it's not because of me. But it was really good. Like, all my videos I did that week got like a lot of views. So, and I got lots of sales off it. So I loved it. But yeah.
Brilliant. I can't believe a death threat over something like that is.
I was like, what? Yeah, it's hilarious.
I think this is, we mentioned this before we started recording, but where I first noticed your brand is you did a viral video on TikTok that called out Simon Squibb and saying that you had a dream and you wanted his attention. And he did comment off the back of it, but I read on LinkedIn that you had a lot more kind of positive knock-on effects from the back of it, of other people wanting to invest and trying to connect you to the right places. Did anything with Simon Squibb ever come about that post?
Not with Simon Squibb, but yeah, just a lot of other people kind of gave advice. I jumped on a lot of calls with other founders who saw it. I also got loads of orders that day. Like my sales went up, I think like 25% that week or something. Yeah, I got loads of orders. I got some stockists, loads of like inquiries. I mean, my LinkedIn post, that's the first time I've ever had a viral LinkedIn post. I never get any traction on my LinkedIn at all. I've not mastered that. But my LinkedIn actually went crazy, and I got loads, and my inbox went crazy from that. So that was really cool. And that's because he shared it. I mean, he shared it. And to be honest, I can't say anything bad about Simon because his face got me 200,000 views or whatever it was. So, it has its perks. But yeah, I knew that would go viral straight away. Like, that's the first time, when you're posting on TikTok, you either think this is going to work, or it's like, and the weirdest things work and the weirdest things don't. But I knew that one would do well because the way I worded it was like a bit of a rage bait. Well, not rage bait, but a curiosity bait, I guess. Like, I said, what have you done now that you've told Simon Squibb your dream? And then everyone would be like, oh yeah, does he actually help? So they've swiped, and then I've gone, nothing, because I've never met him. So yeah, I knew people would swipe on that first kind of post on the carousel. So yeah, I knew that one would do well. And obviously the reason that I've said, obviously I've started a trend, is that video then went everywhere with everybody. Loads of small businesses did it after that, which I think is really great. And it would have definitely annoyed Simon though, because I bet his inbox went mad that week, which is why I did the sorry Simon post on LinkedIn. But yeah,
I'm not sure he commented on everyone's, but yeah, it was where I noticed you, and I've been following since then. The thing I just want to speak about, seeing, I know you did briefly mention this earlier, is that iced tea is often associated with a summer drink. When you go on holiday, you'll drink iced tea. How do you market it in the winter? Are you trying to reframe people's minds into thinking you can drink iced tea all year round, or do you have different flavors that do better in the off season?
Yeah, so everything. So I always try and kind of market it around like Christmas time as a non-alcoholic drink. So I've got a raspberry and mint iced tea, which tastes like a mojito. So I pushed that one a lot in the winter, but then also I went further and we did a rhubarb and ginger. Obviously ginger is quite like warming. People always think of rhubarb and ginger as quite like wintry. So I did that, but it's got vitamins in as well. So I kind of tried to do that and market that as kind of like, flu season and all of this. And that's kind of the route I end up going down. It tastes very much like ginger shot, like the ginger's quite strong in it. So yeah, you do have to kind of adapt slightly, but also different avenues with kind of stockist help. So I am in a lot of offices in London. I'm in some of the biggest offices in London. They still sold similar to what they would sell in summer, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be, you'd have your cup of tea, but you do also want a cold drink sometimes, don't you? When you're working. And also like meal deals. I'm hoping that will, now we're in retail, it'll keep it pretty steady, because I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't get a hot drink with my meal deal. I get a cold drink. So yeah, obviously I'm hoping that will kind of still maintain sales a bit better. But yeah, you just have to find different avenues and just do it the best you can. But I do see winter for me, like obviously the sales are going to drop. That's just how it is. Hopefully start exporting to make it a bit better. But I use that winter to get very set up for the next summer. So land new stockings, get all our campaigns prepared, do any like new recipe development, and fundraising this year. Like you've got to, it's, especially as a solo founder, you can kind of sometimes use that.
Yeah. And for your marketing campaigns, especially probably your advertising campaigns, are you measuring success based on online sales, your return on ad spend, your low cost per sales, or do you kind of see it as a wider brand awareness piece where you think, we can't measure everything. Some people might pop into the store and buy something, or maybe one of the people that we target on our ad is a business owner and they're going to stock us in their office.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difficult thing about it, isn't it? Like, it's very hard to kind of measure. So yeah, I pay attention to kind of the ROAS, but I look at it as it's probably not as bad as it looks. It's very hard in drinks because, one, it's so expensive to ship, they're expensive to kind of do anyway, and it is at the end of the day a luxury. It's not a need, it's a luxury. So it's a very tough time to do ads. I just kind of look at it that you have to kind of look at it as the second sale. So I do have quite a good return customer rate. It's pretty like higher than a lot of other things. So I kind of look at it as that. People won't just buy it online. Like, my customers will buy it in every cafe they go to as well. So I've got kind of that word of mouth, and it is really great awareness. I get people being like, "Oh, we've seen you everywhere at the minute," because obviously you know what ads are like. It's targeted, so of course they see me everywhere. They've been to my website once, and they can't get rid of me. But yeah, you have to kind of look at it like that as well. I have actually just run a B2B one, so that's been really good. So I did it to try and get new stockists. So it's very different. I just did it as a static, and it was like iced tea for your cafe, and then I put the USPs, and I targeted it to people that were like part of cafe owner groups on Facebook and people that own cafes. And to be honest, I did actually do that myself with not using an agency, so it was probably a little bit spotty, but I got a pretty good kind of like I did like a form, so it was pretty good, and I got quite a few stockists out of it. But again, awareness, like those people like might go and buy it in their own cafe as well, or buy it online. So yeah, it's hard to quantify, isn't it? But I do think they're definitely great, and if they're used in the right way, definitely, yeah,
And it's all about being just front of mind to consumers, because
yeah,
e-commerce is, everyone's obsessed with e-commerce and they like posting their Shopify stores revenues. But for a product like yours, a big part of it is when you want it, you just want it. You want that impulse buy. And by ordering online, you're going to have to wait a week. When you're front of mind, they pop into a shop and they see your brand, they'll just pick it up.
yeah.
So there's that aspect of it as well. When you do the business, the B2B marketing, are you doing so lead forms, and then they book in a call with you to upsell, or is it kind of like an email flow that you use?
Email. So I would get them to fill out a form with their email and their like venue name, and then I was sending kind of our trade info, and then just sending follow-ups. So a lot of them, it's quite hard to quantify at the moment, because a lot of people that were reaching out are people whose cafes aren't ready yet. It's people who are like doing it up, so or they've just bought somewhere. So I've got quite a lot in the pipeline, but I think I got probably 7 new stockists from it, and I only ran it for like 10 days, 2 weeks. So it's not too bad. Obviously, and like the first order is like £70. So that's like the first order, because that's the minimum order they can do, and then most of them have already reordered a couple of times. So it's definitely made the money back for sure.
Last part of this episode I just really wanted to discuss is the legacy. So I just curious to know from your side, what is the bigger vision for Riviera Iced Tea? Where do you see it being in 5 years' time?
I want it to, it's changed a little bit. I want it to be the iced tea that's in every cafe. I don't want it, instead of Lipton, I want it in every cafe, every restaurant. I want iced tea to actually be on menus like it is abroad. So I want to be the kind of the reason that that's changed. Because I think the issue is you can't put Lipton in a nice cafe. So that is kind of the main like reason. So I want to get it into all kind of on trade like that. And then have it alongside kind of Lipton in the cafes, but have it as just a slightly kind of more premium version. We've got better, more exciting flavors, and people seeing it as like a non-alcoholic option, because it's non-alcoholic and non-carbonated. It ticks all those boxes. So people seeing it as kind of that rather than like a grab and go, like we'll go and sit and drink, just down our Lipton iced tea, a bit more of like a create a moment type thing. But I'd love it to be like the go-to iced tea brand in the UK, definitely.
And you've given so much value in this podcast already, but if someone was listening and they wanted to start another drinks brand today, what's one piece of advice you'd like to give them?
Document it from the start. I really regret not doing that. Just show the whole process. And I think like there's a company called Salt, and they've got a big influencer who owns it, so that is kind of a big stepping stone. But they are doing really cool video content, and I just think, yeah, if you can document from day one, you've got the biggest leg up in the whole world. I mean, if you've got 5,000 followers when you launch, even, I mean, that is just, you're like miles ahead of everybody else. So yeah, definitely document the second you even get the idea.
Well, brilliant. Fran, thank you very much for coming on this episode of Champion Creativity. It's been great.
Thanks for having me.